Before we dive in, this episode is powered by Strong Coffee Company, the protein-packed coffee that fuels both your body and your mindset. It's not just caffeine, it's coffee upgraded. No crash, no nonsense. So level up your morning ritual with Strong Coffee Company and use VanCrux1 at checkout for 20% off your order. Start strong at strongcoffeecompany.com. What if you were born with no beliefs, no instincts, no innate knowledge? Just a blank slate waiting to be written on by the world. By the end of this episode, you'll understand how one man's radical ideas about the human mind reshaped education, politics, and even the foundation of modern democracy. It's the year 1632, in a quiet village in Rington, Somerset, England. A child is born, John Locke, and not the one out of the series Lost. No one could have predicted that this boy, born to a lawyer and a tanner's daughter, would one day challenge the intellectual traditions of Europe and redefine how we understand the human mind. He grew up during a time of turmoil, civil wars, revolutions, and the birth of new nations. And perhaps it was this chaos that planted in him the questions that would guide his life. What truly shapes a human being? Nature or nurture? Locke believes that the mind at birth is a tabula rasa, a blank slate. No innate ideas, no pre-programmed beliefs. Everything we know, every habit we form, every value we hold, all of it comes from experience. In his 1693 work, Some Thoughts Concerning Education, Locke laid out a revolutionary three-part approach to raising and educating a person. The first is the development of a healthy body. Locke believed that the physical health was the cornerstone of mental strength. The body, he said, must be trained in endurance, resilience and self-discipline, because a weak or indulgent body clouds the clarity of thought. He urged parents to toughen their children gently from an early age, encouraging exposure to the cold, fresh air, and the occasional discomfort that builds fortitude. He advised moderation in diet, regular exercise, and enough sleep to sustain focus and vitality. To Locke, education wasn't just about shaping the mind, but about conditioning the whole person to withstand the challenges of life. A strong, adaptable body prepared the mind to think clearly, act decisively, and remain calm under pressure. In his view, physical well-being was inseparable from intellectual development, a principle modern neuroscience continues to echo today. The second of the three was the formation of virtuous character. For Locke, virtue was not something you were born with. It was something cultivated through deliberate effort and consistent example. He wrote that moral education begins not with punishment but with reason. A child, he says, learns goodness not from fear but from understanding. Parents and mentors must model the virtues they wish to reach or teach: patience, honesty, gratitude, and self-restraint. In Locke's philosophy, children learn more from what adults do than from what they say. He emphasised praise and encouragement over harsh correction, believing that dignity and respect nurture a sense of moral independence. To raise a virtuous person, Locke argued, was to train them to govern themselves, to act rightly even when no one is watching. This was revolutionary at the time. Education, in Locke's eyes, was not just the shaping of intellect, but the crafting of conscience. And finally, the choice of an appropriate academic curriculum. For Locke, learning should serve life, not simply fill the mind with abstract knowledge. He rejected the rigid classical education of his day, where students were drilled endlessly in Latin grammar and ancient texts with little connection to the real world. Instead, Locke championed practical knowledge, reading, writing, mathematics, the sciences, subjects that equipped a person to navigate society and contribute meaningfully. He encouraged curiosity, dialogue, and experimentation, believing that students learnt best when they engage with ideas, not just memorise them. He also recognised the value of learning through experience. A walk in the garden could teach you more about nature than hours of reading about it. A conversation could teach rhetoric better than repetition. Education for Locke was not a factory process, but a lifelong conversation between the mind and the world. In short, Locke didn't just watch scholars. He wanted well-rounded human beings, physically strong, morally grounded, and intellectually alive. He believed that what a child experiences in those early years carves deep grooves in the psyche. And he put it, the little and almost insensible impressions on our tender infancies have very important and lasting consequences. Locke's educational philosophy was rooted in the broader theory of knowledge, empiricism. In his monumental essay concerning human understanding from 1690, he argued that all knowledge comes from experience. The senses, not innate reason, are the gateways to understanding. We see, we touch, we hear, we feel, and the mind gathers these sensory inputs, processes them, and turns them into ideas. This is what direct challenge to the rationalists like Descartes, who believed that truth could be discovered through pure reason. Locke disagreed. He said, the mind is furnished with ideas by experience alone. He divided the world into two kinds of qualities. Primary qualities, the real objective features of things like shape and motion, and then the secondary qualities like colour and taste, which exist only in our perception of them. This distinction laid the groundwork for modern psychology and even neuroscience, recognising that what we perceive is a representation of reality, not reality itself. Locke didn't just redefine how we learn, he redefined what it meant to know. This episode is sponsored by More Labs, a clinically proven recovery energy drink for after nights out or intense training. It's rehydration at its finest. Check them out on morelabs.com and use promo code VANCRUX1 for 25% off. Back to the episode. But Locke's ideas didn't stop at education or epistemology. They became the intellectual backbone of a liberal democracy. In his two treatises of government in 1690, Locke argued that every human being is born with natural rights: life, liberty, and property. Government, he said, exists not by divine authority but by the consent of the governed. If rulers violated that trust, the people had the right to rebel, a shocking claim in an age of kings and absolute power. His ideas would later echo across the Atlantic in the words of Thomas Jefferson and the American Declaration of Independence. Locke's philosophy gave voice to the idea that freedom and reason must walk hand in hand, that the human mind, once educated, cannot be enslaved. Locke's life mirrored the evolution of this thought, from his early days at Oxford, where he was frustrated by the outdated Aristotle teachings, essentially, to his friendships with scientists like Robert Boyle and Isaac Newton. Locke lived at the crossroads of science, philosophy, and politics. He served as a physician and advisor to Lord Anthony Ashley Cooper, later the Earl of Shaftesbury, and even helped shape colonial trade policies. He lived in exile, fled persecution, and returned to England to witness the glorious revolution, the triumph of constitutional government over tyranny. Through it all, Locke's central belief never changed, that truth, morality, and liberty all built through education and experience, not inherited privilege. He died in 1704 in a country house in Essex, never having married or had children. But in a way, his legacy was precisely about children, the generations of minds shaped by philosophy. He taught that every single person is capable of transformation, that education, not birth, determines wealth and worth, and that the mind, like a blank page, can be filled with wisdom, virtue, and purpose if guided with care. In today's world, Locke's vision remains more relevant than ever. Whether you're raising a child, building a business, or reinventing yourself, remember this: You are not fixed. You are being written. Every experience, every choice, every habit, it all shapes the masterpiece you become. So what will you write on your slate today? Because as Locke reminded us, the mind is not a vessel to be filled, it's a fire to be lit. This episode was brought to you by Liquor Gummies, the smarter way to enjoy your night out and feel fresh the next morning. Electrolytes, vitamin, natural ingredients. It will help your hangover before it hits. So grab yours now at liquor.com, that's liquure.com, with 20% off with promo code VANCROOKS1.